Chris Brown's life sucks, and he knows it. On paper, it looks like he's living the dream. Rich, famous, still selling out shows. But behind the scenes, it's a never-ending mess. Scandals that won't die, an industry that uses his talent but pretends he doesn't exist, and fans that won't let him move on. Today, we're breaking down exactly why being Chris Brown in 2025 sucks harder than anyone realizes, and why no amount of fame can fix it. Period. Chris didn't ease into fame. He cannonballed into it. Dropped his first single at 16 and instantly became R&B's golden boy. Smooth vocals, dance moves straight from the Matrix, teenage girls fainting on sight. He was built in a lab to be famous. But here's the problem with peaking that early. You don't get to be a kid. You don't get to grow up in private. Every awkward phase, bad haircut, public meltdown, it's all documented. Forever. Most of us get to cringe in peace over our high school years. Chris? His entire teenhood lives in HD, across millions of YouTube channels. Let's not sugarcoat it. 2009 was the year everything shattered. Chris Brown went from heartthrob to headline in the worst way possible. That incident with Rihanna was horrifying, unforgivable. It changed how people saw him, not just fans, but the entire music industry. Tours were canceled, endorsements vanished. The phrase career ending was thrown around like confetti, but somehow it didn't end. He apologized, went to court, did the interviews, and the industry, it kinda hesitated, then let him straight back in. But the stain never faded. For the rest of his life, Chris Brown would be a PR nightmare with legs. Most celebrities get to bounce back eventually. Chris, he never got the full reset. Because every time he tries to move forward, Twitter digs up the past like it's on a treasure hunt. He could drop the hottest single of the year, and the replies will still be, didn't he? Isn't he the guy who... Y'all still listen to him? He's stuck in limbo, too famous to disappear, too infamous to be fully forgiven. And no matter how much time passes, the internet keeps hitting replay. If Chris had just kept his head down post-2009, maybe the public would have softened. But no, Chris Brown is chaos with a Wi-Fi connection. There's always something, beefing in comment sections, throwing chairs through windows, clubbing like he's speedrunning a police report. There's a version of Chris Brown that's brilliant, a performer so good he makes arenas levitate. And then there's the version that can't stop rage posting at 3 a.m. He's talented enough to win everyone back, but unpredictable enough to lose them the next week. It's like his own worst enemy lives inside his own Twitter drafts. Here's the paradox. Chris Brown might be the most talented entertainer of his generation. Period. He can sing, rap, act, paint, flip, glide, and moonwalk upside down. But he's never been able to enjoy being at the top. Because every accomplishment gets followed by a wave of side-eye. Every award comes with a backlash. Every success feels controversial. People still blast his music in clubs, but when his name trends, it's usually for all the wrong reasons. He's in the weirdest spot in pop culture history. Too massive to ignore, too messy to root for publicly. The wildest part? The industry still depends on him. Artists want a collab. DJs still spin his records. He could drop a feature tomorrow and it'll chart by dinner. But award shows pretend he doesn't exist. Magazines dodge his name. Major brands treat him like toxic waste. It's like everyone wants his talent, just not his name attached. He's the guy who's always on the radio, but never in the room when the trophies are handed out. Chris Brown doesn't just have a fan base. He has a fully armed, emotionally volatile fan militia that has made defending him their full-time job. They're not just loyal, they're archivists. They've got folders of receipts, organized by year in alphabetical order. They've memorized court dates, interview transcripts, apology tours, and random Twitter fights from 2013 that no one even remembers. When anyone tries to bring up the past, these fans materialize from the shadows with legal rebuttals and aggressively worded threads. And in many ways, they've kept him alive in an industry that tried to bury him more than once. When brands backed out, the fans stayed. When headlines turned ugly, they spun narratives harder than a record label PR team. When others looked away, they streamed his album like their rent depended on it. But that kind of loyalty isn't always a gift. Sometimes it's a prison with velvet walls. Because now, Chris isn't just trying to manage a career. He's managing expectations. Not just from the industry, but from people who have built entire identities around defending his past. He can't just grow up. He can't evolve slowly and quietly, because the second he tries to soften the edges, slow things down, or act like a man who's been charged, the loudest part of his base starts to get restless. They want him angry. They want him messy. They want the raw chaos from the early 2010s when he was throwing chairs through windows and tweeting like an unsupervised teenager with a Red Bull addiction. They'll say they want healing and growth, but only if it still entertains them. So now, Chris walks this bizarre tightrope, caught between a public that won't forgive and a fan base that won't let him change. Every time he tries to shift direction, he's reminded that he's not in full control. He may have the mic, but someone else is writing the chorus. He's not just battling old scandals, he's battling nostalgia for the version of himself that nearly destroyed him. And that's the most twisted part. The people who claim to love him the most, sometimes they're the very thing keeping him from moving forward. Chris Brown has done the impossible. He's built a career so massive, so undeniable, so long-lasting that no one knows what to do with it. He should be a legend. His discography alone earns him that title. The chart numbers, the sales, the influence, he checks every box. New artists still cite him as an inspiration. His choreography has shaped an entire generation of performers. His vocal range and the stage energy are in a league of their own. But instead of being celebrated, he's filed under complicated. Not a villain, not a hero, not forgotten, not embraced. He's not the comeback story because he never really left. He's not the redemption story because there was never a final apology the world accepted. He's not canceled because the charts say otherwise. He's not uncanceled because society still flinches when his name comes up. And so Chris exists in this strange cultural purgatory. People blast his music in private, but flinch when it comes on in public. Industry insiders call him a genius behind closed doors, then leave him out of tribute performances. Media avoids him unless there's a scandal. Award shows act like he's invincible until the ratings need help. He is both a legend and liability. Every time he releases something, the conversation splits in two. One side says, this is why he's still the king. The other says, we're still doing this? There's no middle ground, no unified voice, just chaos. And maybe that's the legacy. Not the albums, not the concerts, not the dance moves or the vocal runs or the viral moments. The legacy is confusion, a never-ending debate about talent versus behavior, art versus accountability, who he was, who he is, and who he could have been if things had gone differently. You can't box him up, you can't summarize his career in a headline, you can't teach his story in a clean arc with a satisfying conclusion. Chris Brown's legacy is a messy playlist of brilliance, backlash, and blurred lines. And the worst part? It's still being written. It sucks to be Chris Brown because your greatest enemy is yourself. Because no matter how talented you are, you'll always be defined by your worst moment. Because your fans love you, but they don't always want you to get better. Because the world will cheer for your songs, but boo the moment they remember who made them. It sucks to be Chris Brown because you've been climbing the same mountain for 15 years. And every time you get near the top, someone yells, "Hey, remember 2009?" and kicks you back down. You can win awards, you can sell out tours, you can break records, but you can't outrun your own history. And in the end, being Chris Brown means living in a spotlight that never turns off, but never really shines the right way either.